The door swung open. Their eyes met in the mirror. In that single moment, everything changed: his life, her secrets, their future. What happens when a desperate father accidentally discovers his boss's most carefully guarded truth? A story about second chances, unexpected love, and the promises we make when we have nothing left to lose. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys like this one. Your support means everything, and I promise the ending of this one will leave you reaching for tissues. Now, let's dive in. Marcus Reed adjusted his janitor's uniform, the fabric worn thin at the elbows after 3 years of night shifts. The building was quiet at this hour. Most executives had gone home hours ago, leaving him alone with his thoughts and the steady rhythm of his mop against the polished floors of Altura Pharmaceuticals. 3 years. 3 years of cleaning other people's messes while trying to piece together his own broken life. 3 years since Ellie had died, leaving him alone with their daughter, Lily. Sweet, brave Lily, who at 8 years old needed specialized medical care that his insurance barely covered. Tonight was different, though. The light in the CEO's office still burned despite the late hour. Victoria Chen, the notoriously private head of Altura, rarely stayed this late. Marcus had only glimpsed her a handful of times, always from a distance, always surrounded by an entourage of assistants and executives. The Ice Queen, they called her. Brilliant but cold. Ruthless in the boardroom. He hesitated outside her door. The cleaning schedule said her office needed attention tonight, but disturbing the CEO seemed like a quick way to lose the job he desperately needed. Just as he was about to move on, he heard a crash from inside, followed by what sounded like a soft cry of pain. Marcus knocked gently. "Hello? Is everything all right in there?" Silence. He knocked again, louder this time. "Miss Chen? I'm the night janitor. I heard something fall. Are you okay?" When no answer came, concern overrode caution. He turned the handle and pushed the door open. The spacious corner office was immaculate as always, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city lights. But Victoria Chen wasn't behind her imposing desk. Instead, she was in the adjoining private bathroom, door ajar, and Marcus froze in horror at what he'd walked in on. Victoria stood with her back to the bathroom mirror, her silk blouse unbuttoned and hanging open. But it wasn't her state of undress that made Marcus's breath catch. It was the surgical scars that mapped her back, still angry and red, and the medical device she was struggling to adjust, some kind of brace or support system that had apparently malfunctioned. Their eyes met in the mirror. Hers widened in shock, then narrowed in fury. "Get out," she whispered, her voice breaking on the words. Not the commanding tone he'd heard in company videos, but something fragile and raw. "Get out now." Marcus backed away immediately. "I'm sorry, I heard a crash, I thought you might be hurt." "You're fired," she said, her voice stronger now, edged with humiliation and rage. "Leave your badge with security on your way out." The blood drained from Marcus's face. "Ms. Chen, please, I didn't mean to." "Out." The word echoed against the glass and steel of the office. Marcus fled, his heart hammering against his ribs. Not the job. Not now. Not when Lily's next round of treatments was starting next week. Not when he was already behind on rent. He made it to the elevator before the reality crashed down on him. Without this job, without the insurance it provided, Lily's condition would deteriorate. The specialized medication she needed cost thousands per month out of pocket. His daughter's life depended on the job he'd just lost. The next morning, Marcus sat at his small kitchen table, staring at his phone. He'd already called every contact he had, looking for new work. Nothing. Lily sat across from him, her small fingers carefully coloring inside the lines of her book, unaware that her world was about to collapse. "Daddy, can we go to the park today? Ms. Rivera says fresh air helps my lungs." Marcus forced a smile. Maybe later, sweetheart. Daddy has some work to do first. His phone buzzed with an unknown number. Probably another rejection. He answered anyway. Mr. Reed. The voice was clipped, professional. This is Amara Patel, Ms. Chen's executive assistant. Your presence is requested at Altura headquarters at noon today. I've been fired, Marcus stammered. Nevertheless, Ms. Chen insists on seeing you. Noon sharp. The line went dead. What choice did he have? After arranging for his neighbor to watch Lily, Marcus put on his only decent shirt and took the bus downtown. Security escorted him directly to the top floor, where Amara Patel waited, her expression giving nothing away. She's waiting for you, was all she said, gesturing to the familiar office door. Victoria Chen sat behind her desk, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, her dark hair pulled back in a severe bun. No trace remained of the vulnerable woman he'd glimpsed last night. She looked up as he entered, her gaze assessing. Sit down, Mr. Reed. He did, perching uncomfortably on the edge of a chair worth more than his monthly rent. I've reviewed your personnel file, she said without preamble. 3 years with the company. Excellent performance reviews. Never late. Takes extra shifts when needed. She paused. And a single father to a chronically ill child. Marcus swallowed hard. Ms. Chen, about last night. She held up a hand, silencing him. What you saw was private. I don't discuss my medical history with anyone, let alone employees. I understand. I would never. However, she continued as if he hadn't spoken, I may have overreacted. Firing you was hasty, especially given your circumstances. Hope flickered in Marcus's chest. Does that mean? You're not fired, Mr. Reed. But I can't have you working nights on this floor anymore. The situation is too awkward. The hope died as quickly as it had come. I understand. Instead, Victoria said, sliding a folder across the desk, I'm offering you a different position. My personal assistant recently left for maternity leave. The job requires discretion, organization, and the ability to work flexible hours. The salary is triple what you currently make, with comprehensive benefits. Marcus stared at her, certain he'd misheard. You want me to be your assistant? But I don't have any experience. You have life experience, Mr. Reed. And you've proven yourself reliable. More importantly, her voice cooled several degrees, you now possess information about me that few others do. I prefer to keep my potential liabilities close. The implication was clear, this wasn't charity. This was control. The job comes with one condition, Victoria added. Absolute discretion about what you saw. If I ever hear a whisper about my condition, I'll know exactly where it came from. Marcus straightened in his chair. Ms. Chen, I would never betray someone's privacy like that. Not for any reason. Something flickered in her eyes, surprise, perhaps, or the faintest hint of respect. Then we understand each other. You start tomorrow. Amara will brief you on your duties. As Marcus left the office, folder clutched in his hands, he couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just made a deal with the devil. But for Lily, he'd dance with demons if he had to. The next weeks passed in a blur. Marcus learned to navigate Victoria's demanding schedule, to anticipate her needs, to become invisible when necessary and indispensable when required. The work was challenging, but the pay was life-changing. For the first time since Ellie's death, he could afford proper care for Lily without drowning in debt. Victoria remained coldly professional, keeping him at arm's length. But occasionally, when she thought he wasn't looking, Marcus caught glimpses of pain crossing her face, moments when she reached for her back or shifted uncomfortably in her chair. One evening, working late to prepare for an important board meeting, Victoria suddenly stiffened, her face draining of color. Ms. Chen? Are you all right? Fine, she said through gritted teeth. Just need my medication. In my purse. Marcus retrieved her bag, finding a prescription bottle inside. He handed it to her with a glass of water, watching as she swallowed the pill with a grimace. Thank you, she said after a moment, the words sounding unfamiliar on her tongue. Is there anything else I can do? Victoria hesitated, vulnerability briefly crossing her features before the mask slipped back into place. No. You can go home to your daughter. But the next day, a specialist pediatrician called Marcus, explaining that Ms. Chen had arranged for Lily to participate in an experimental treatment program fully covered by Altura. When confronted, Victoria dismissed his gratitude with a wave of her hand. It's good business, Reed. Your daughter's condition is similar to cases our new drug might help. Consider it a mutually beneficial arrangement. He didn't believe her for a second, but he knew better than to push. Gradually, almost imperceptibly, something shifted between them. Victoria began asking about Lily, offering schedule adjustments when Marcus needed to attend her appointments. He, in turn, learned to recognize the signs of Victoria's pain days, quietly rearranging her calendar to minimize physical strain without ever acknowledging why. 6 months into their strange arrangement, Marcus arrived at work to find Victoria already in her office, staring out at the city below. Something was wrong, her posture was too rigid, her knuckles white where they gripped her desk. The board meeting is in 20 minutes, she said without turning. I need you to take notes for me. Of course. And Reed? Now she did turn, her expression carefully blank. I'll need your help afterward. My equipment is malfunctioning again. The admission clearly cost her. In 6 months, she had never once directly acknowledged her condition to him. Whatever you need, he said simply. The board meeting was brutal, 3 hours of aggressive questioning about quarterly projections and development timelines. Victoria never faltered, her voice steady and authoritative as she defended her vision for the company. But Marcus saw what others missed, the slight tremor in her hand, the careful way she held herself, the thin line of her lips when she had to stand to present. When the last board member finally left, Victoria collapsed into her chair, eyes closed, breath coming in short gasps. What do you need? Marcus asked quietly, closing the door to ensure their privacy. In my private bathroom, she managed. There's a kit. Black case. He retrieved it quickly, finding medical supplies inside, a specialized brace, pain medication, tools for adjustments. Victoria's hands shook too badly to manage it herself. I need to. She began, then stopped, frustration and humiliation warring on her face. Let me help, Marcus said gently. Just tell me what to do. For a long moment, Victoria stared at him, weighing his offer against her fierce independence. Finally, she nodded once. Not here. My apartment is nearby. We'll go there. Victoria's penthouse was exactly what Marcus expected, minimalist, expensive, impersonal. No photographs, no mementos, nothing to suggest the woman who lived there was anything more than her professional accomplishments. In her bedroom, Victoria finally explained, clinical and detached, as if discussing a stranger's body. A car accident 3 years ago. A shattered spine. Multiple surgeries. Experimental technology that allowed her to walk, to work, to maintain the illusion of invulnerability that her position demanded. The board doesn't know, she said as Marcus carefully helped adjust the complex brace system beneath her clothing. No one knows. If they did, the vultures would circle. They'd claim I'm not fit to lead. That's ridiculous, Marcus said. You're the most capable person I've ever met. Victoria gave a bitter laugh. The business world isn't known for its compassion, Reed. Weakness is blood in the water. As he worked, following her precise instructions, Marcus couldn't help but notice the other scars, older ones, long-healed, that spoke of a different kind of pain. Victoria caught his gaze and stiffened. Those are not up for discussion. He nodded, respecting her boundary. Almost done here. When he finished, Victoria tested her movement, relief washing over her face as the pain subsided. Thank you, she said quietly. Your discretion means a great deal to me. You don't have to thank me for basic human decency. Something shifted in her expression then, surprise, followed by a softening around her eyes. In my experience, decency is rarely basic or human. That night marked another turning point. Victoria began to trust him with more than just her schedule, small confidences, fragments of her past, glimpses of the woman behind the CEO. Marcus learned she had no family, that she'd fought her way up from nothing, that the accident had nearly destroyed everything she'd built. In turn, he shared stories of Ellie, of their whirlwind romance cut short by cancer, of his struggles and joys raising Lily alone. Victoria listened with unexpected interest, asking questions about his daughter's condition that went beyond polite inquiry. One evening, after a particularly difficult day of treatments, Marcus found Victoria waiting outside Lily's hospital room, a stuffed animal tucked awkwardly under her arm. I thought she might like this, Victoria said, looking almost embarrassed. Children in hospitals need distractions. The gesture was so unexpected, so human, that Marcus could only stare. Victoria Chen, the ice queen of Altura Pharmaceuticals, buying a teddy bear for his daughter. Would you like to meet her? He asked impulsively. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. Briefly. If she's feeling up to visitors. Lily was delighted by the surprise guest, chattering happily about her favorite books and showing Victoria her collection of hospital bracelets. To Marcus's amazement, Victoria listened intently, asking thoughtful questions and never once talking down to the child. As they were leaving, Lily called out, "You should come for dinner sometime. Daddy makes the best spaghetti in the world." Victoria glanced at Marcus, a question in her eyes. She's right about the spaghetti, he said with a smile. You're welcome anytime. To his surprise, Victoria took them up on the offer the following week. She arrived at their modest apartment with an expensive bottle of wine and visible nervousness. Lily immediately pulled her into a tour of their home, proudly showing off her book collection and science projects. Dinner was surprisingly comfortable. Victoria relaxed in increments, the corporate mask slipping away to reveal a dry wit and genuine curiosity about their lives. When Lily fell asleep on the couch, Victoria helped Marcus clear the dishes. You've built a beautiful life here, she said quietly. Despite everything. We manage, Marcus replied. Some days are harder than others. Victoria nodded, understanding in her eyes. The hard days define us, I think. Maybe. Or maybe it's what we choose to do after the hard days that matters. She considered this, then asked, "And what did you choose, Marcus?" It was the first time she'd used his first name. The sound of it in her voice made something shift inside him. To keep going. To find joy where I can. To show Lily that life is still worth living, even when it hurts. He paused. What about you? What did you choose after your accident? Victoria was quiet for so long he thought she wouldn't answer. Finally, she said, to never be vulnerable again. To never need anyone. A faint smile touched her lips. I'm not sure that's working out as planned. The admission hung between them, delicate and significant. Marcus found himself wanting to reach for her hand but resisted the impulse. Thank you for dinner, Victoria said, gathering her things. It's been a very long time since I've experienced a normal evening. You're welcome anytime, Marcus said, meaning it. Lily adores you. Something complicated crossed Victoria's face. She's an extraordinary child. You should be proud. I am. Every day. At the door, Victoria hesitated. Marcus, what you've done for me, keeping my secret, helping me, it means more than I can express. You gave me a job that saved my daughter's life, he replied. I think we're even. She shook her head. No. What you've given me isn't transactional. It's. She struggled for the word, humanity. And I've had precious little of that in my life. Before he could respond, she leaned forward and pressed a brief kiss to his cheek, then turned and walked quickly to the waiting car. Marcus stood in the doorway long after her car disappeared, his cheek tingling where her lips had touched. Over the next months, their lives became increasingly intertwined. Victoria joined them for dinner regularly. She attended Lily's school science fair. Marcus continued to help with her medical equipment when needed, their awkwardness around the intimate task fading with familiarity and trust. At work, they maintained professional boundaries, but something had undeniably changed. The staff noticed, whispers followed them through the hallways, speculation about the nature of their relationship. Victoria ignored it with practiced indifference. Marcus did his best to do the same. One rainy evening, Victoria called Marcus into her office, her expression grave. The board is pushing back on Lily's experimental treatment program, she said without preamble. They're questioning the ethics of having an employee's child in the trial. Marcus felt the floor drop beneath him. But her progress has been amazing. The doctors say. I know. Victoria's voice softened. I've read every report. I'm fighting for her, Marcus. I promise you that. What can I do? Victoria hesitated. Nothing. This is my battle. She looked away. But there's something else you should know. There are rumors about us. The board is using them to question my judgment. I can resign, Marcus said immediately. If that would help Lily stay in the program. No. Victoria's response was sharp. That's exactly what they want. They've been looking for ways to undermine me since the merger talks began. She sighed, rubbing her temples. I've worked too hard to let them take this company from me. And I won't let them use Lily as leverage. That night, Victoria came to dinner as usual, but her mind was elsewhere. After Lily went to bed, she finally confided in Marcus about the full extent of the board's machinations, a planned coup, accusations of emotional compromise, threats to reveal her medical condition to shareholders. They don't know for certain about my spine, she said, pacing the small living room. But they suspect something. They've hired private investigators. It's only a matter of time. What will you do? Victoria stopped pacing, her expression hardening into resolve. What I've always done. Fight. Win. She turned to him. But I need to know where you stand, Marcus. This could get ugly. For both of us. Marcus didn't hesitate. I'm with you. Whatever you need. The battle for Altura played out over weeks of tense meetings and legal maneuvers. Victoria was magnificent, ruthless, strategic, always 3 steps ahead of her opponents. Marcus supported her however he could, working late into the night, rearranging her schedule to hide her pain days, becoming her most trusted confidant. The night before the decisive board vote, Victoria appeared at his door, soaked from the rain, her usual composure shattered. They know, she said as he ushered her inside. Someone leaked my medical records. Tomorrow they'll move to have me removed as CEO. Marcus guided her to the couch, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. There must be something we can do. Victoria laughed bitterly. I've spent my entire career hiding my weaknesses, pretending to be invincible. And now? She looked up at him, vulnerability raw in her eyes. I'm so tired of pretending, Marcus. Without thinking, he reached for her hand. Then stop. Show them exactly who you are, not despite your struggles, but because of them. You're the strongest person I've ever known. You see me differently than they do. I see you clearly, he corrected. Maybe for the first time, someone does. Victoria's eyes searched his face. Why? Why have you stood by me through all of this? The question hung between them, demanding truth. Marcus took a breath. Because somewhere between hating you for firing me and fearing you for rehiring me, I started to see the real Victoria Chen. And once I saw her, brave, brilliant, fighting every day against pain most people couldn't imagine, I couldn't look away. He paused. I don't want to look away. Victoria's hand trembled in his. Marcus. You don't have to say anything, he assured her quickly. I know this complicates everything. Everything has been complicated since the moment you walked into my office, she whispered. Then, with a decisiveness that defined her, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, then deepening with months of unspoken longing. When they finally broke apart, Victoria rested her forehead against his. I can't promise you anything, she said softly. My life, my body, it's all so uncertain. I don't need promises, Marcus replied. I just need you, exactly as you are. The next morning, Victoria walked into the boardroom with her head high, Marcus at her side. Instead of hiding her condition, she addressed it directly, revealing the experimental technology that allowed her to lead the company despite her injury, highlighting how her personal experience had driven Altura's groundbreaking research in spinal regeneration. My supposed weakness, she told the stunned board members, has been this company's greatest strength. The treatments we're developing aren't abstract concepts to me. They're my future. And the future of millions like me. She presented data showing how Altura's focus on neurological treatments under her leadership had doubled company value. She introduced doctors who testified to the promise of the experimental program that was helping Lily and others. You can remove me today, she concluded. That is your right. But know that you're not just losing a CEO. You're losing someone who understands our mission in her bones, quite literally. The vote was close, but Victoria prevailed. As the boardroom emptied, she remained seated, the victory taking its physical toll. Marcus waited until they were alone before kneeling beside her chair. You did it, he said softly. Victoria smiled, exhaustion and triumph mingling on her face. We did it. She took his hand. I couldn't have faced this without you. You could have, he corrected. But I'm glad you didn't have to. 2 years later, Marcus stood in their garden, watching as Victoria helped Lily plant sunflower seeds. The experimental treatment had worked wonders, Lily was stronger now, her condition stabilized. Victoria's own treatments were progressing too, each new breakthrough from Altura's labs bringing incremental improvements to her mobility and comfort. Their wedding had been small, just Lily, a few close friends, and Amara, who had cried more than anyone despite her protests to the contrary. Victoria had walked down the aisle unassisted, her back brace concealed beneath her dress but no longer a secret she carried alone. Life wasn't perfect. Victoria still had pain days. The board still required vigilance. Lily's health remained a constant concern. But they faced each challenge together, their love strengthened by the trials that had brought them together. As the sun set over their garden, Victoria looked up and caught Marcus watching them. Her smile, once so rare, came easily now, lighting up her face with a joy he never tired of seeing. What are you thinking about? She called to him. Marcus walked over, wrapping his arms around both his girls. Just that some accidents turn out to be the best things that ever happened to us. Victoria leaned back against his chest, her eyes meeting his in understanding. A life sentence I wouldn't trade for anything, she whispered, and kissed him as Lily giggled and covered her eyes. In the broken whisper of a woman in pain, Marcus had found his purpose. In the desperate love of a single father, Victoria had found her strength. Together, they had built something neither believed possible again, a family forged in adversity, tempered by truth, and bound by a love that had transformed them both. Asterisk if this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys like this one. Your support helps us continue sharing stories of hope, healing, and unexpected love. Until next time, remember that our greatest weaknesses often lead us to our greatest strengths, and sometimes, to the people who will change our lives forever. Asterisk.